everybody. I'm super excited to share a question that I got. I was contacted by a Seattle SLP, which always makes me super happy. And they're wondering about words like conclude and conclusion and invade and invasion and how we explore these with kids and how we find out whether or not they're related. And so I'm going to show you how to look at this relationship using invade and invasion. It's a very common relationship that we see, and you'll notice a lot more of words that are similar this way. Convert, conversion, divert, diversion, and the list could go on and on and on and on. That is because these words have come from Latin verbs, and Latin verbs have 4 principal parts, 2 of which we will get bases from in English. English bases were derived from. With invade and invasion, if you go to Edam Online for either one of these entries, you can see that there's the Latin word invadere, I-N-V-A-D-E-R-E. From there, we can go to a Latin dictionary, like the one I tend to use is latin-dictionary.net, and type in that Latin form. So type in the I-N-V-A-D-E-R-E and you'll be shown these 4 principal parts. What we need to know once we've got those is that the English bases were coming from the 2nd and the 4th, and that there's always some sort of suffix that gets peeled off. And so the 2nd is the infinitive form. In English, we tend to mark the infinitive form with that to prior to the verb: to be, to love, to walk, etc. The 4th principal part is considered the past participle or the perfect passive participle, and that is going to have a different suffix that gets removed. You might think of this with like loved as an example, where we're going to remove the ed to get love. Similar thing was happening in Latin, okay? So where we need to pull off suffixes to get to that base of the root from which English built words. And you'll notice that these have different letters. So there's the one with the S, from which we built invasion, and the one with the D, from which we built invade. And often these words arrive in English in different ways. Some travel through French first. Now there are combining forms of verbs that sometimes aren't as easy to find, especially in the online Latin dictionaries. Sometimes you might need to peel off what is the Latin preposition. We view it as a prefix. Like invade, you might need to peel off the IN and just do the VADERE to see if you can find that deeper form. These bases are referred to as alternate bases. They've got a long history of also being referred to as twin bases, but that's not as accurate because sometimes there's more than 2 alternate bases, and so people have moved away from that term and tend to use alternate bases instead. Now, when you see these, you have an idea of how to approach them. And I just will tell kids that Latin did this, and just like English verb forms come in different packages. English verb forms can be progressive, they can be perfect, they can be past, they can be infinitive form, and Latin similarly has different forms, and that influenced what came into English. Therefore, some of them are obviously related, and we know they're related. The letters are different. And people tend to show these. They often will group 2 matrices within a circle, the circle showing the broader relatives. That's one way that you can do it. I have seen some people put both bases within the same matrix. I think that gets a little complicated, so I do prefer to show all of the alternate bases on separate matrices. Alternate bases can be a really great thing to keep track of. They're kind of fun, and also they're a really great way to look at Word forms, parts of speech, what is conclude doing? What is conclusion doing? What is invasion versus invade? So they're a nice opportunity to look at why these different forms both came into play. There's lots of places that you can go with those grammatically that are a really nice way to deepen understanding of grammar and word forms. If you have any questions that have been coming up in your sessions or classrooms or homes, please be in touch. Please let me know. I'm happy to help with that. All right. Hope you have a good week.